Good morning. Hooray as the sign up, if you donati already get California today by email. If you haven't been to the Kern River, you may not know that it's a stunner. Make the harrowing drive up Highway 178 east from Bakersfield, and you'll be rewarded with views of tall, green trees, glittering water and giant boulders that look like sculpture. On parts of the river, the rocky rapids make whitewater rafting a summertime draw, and lower down, where the water appears calmer, campgrounds are a destination for families looking for an affordable getaway. But that, rescuers and experts have long said, is where you can get into trouble. The problem is that the speed with which people drown is just so fast, Zach Boyd of the Kern County Fire Department told me. Once the in the water, the life expectancy drops. A spring of heavy rains and cooler than normal temperatures means the river has been rushing. Since Memorial Day, local officials said, at least 4 people have drowned in the river and an 11-year-old girl remains missing after being lost in the currents more than a month ago. Still, Mr. Boyd said his department, as well the Kern River Conservancy and the patchwork of public safety agencies that operate in the area, have worked hard to prevent accidents. The AVE recorded a PSA and partnered with rafting outfitters to provide loaner life vests. But Mr. Boyd said he has found the most effective tack is simply approaching campers to tell them about danger. Maybe you believe you are a strong enough swimmer to keep your head above water. Or perhaps you think that tying a rope around your children's waists as a tether will prevent them from being dragged off by unseen currents. Mr. Boyd, were he to meet you at, say, a campground in Keysville, would politely disabuse you of those notions. Is something that a sign can't do, he said. There are also signs, including a famous one that has been periodically updated with the Rivera's death toll since 1968. Is up to almost 300. Is tough to draw a line back to those prevention efforts, but officials say that in spite of this year's high water they have been less busy than they anticipated. And the number of deaths has been lower than in past high water years. Back in 2011, I reported for the Bakersfield Californian on what was among the Rivera's deadliest summers. Using Coroner's reports, my then colleagues and I counted 15 drownings that year. In 2017, Sergeant Zach Biddle of the Kern County Sheriff's Office told me, the grim count was 16. In June of that year, the lower Kern River, where most swimmers take their chances, was flowing at about 5,400 cubic feet per second, according to Army Corps of Engineers gauge data. This year, the river reached about the same flow in mid-June, and has dropped since. But summer is far from over, and Sergeant Biddle warned there is still a risk. Even this week's flows of roughly 2,500 cubic feet per second can be treacherous. So, with all that in mind, Mr. Boyd said his advice for enjoying the river is pretty straightforward. Wear a life vest, if you are anywhere near the water, even if you are just waiting or sitting on rocks with your feet in the water. The rocks are slippery. Watch your children, donati let them splash in shallows. Donati try to anchor yourself to the shore with ropes, and donati use pool toys. If you want to enter the river, go with a trained guide. We often link to sites that limit access for non-subscribers. We appreciate your Reading Times coverage, but we also encourage you to support local news if you can. 4 of the world's biggest automakers sided with California against President Trump, who is expected to all but eliminate Obama-era vehicle emissions regulations. The deal with Ford Motor Company, Volkswagen of America, Honda, and BMW gives the carmakers more certainty. The New York Times. Meanwhile, Tesla lost money even as sales of its Model 3 sedans surged. The company is spending heavily. The New York Times. Mayor London Breed and a faction of San Francisco's Board of Supervisors have reached a deal over dueling proposals to potentially open up public land for affordable housing and homes for teachers. The San Francisco Chronicle. A sent 16 Marines arrested during the regular morning formation at Camp Pendleton on Thursday were accused of a range of offenses including human smuggling and drug violations. The New York Times. A sent after Nipsey Hussle's death, what will become of the business empire he was building without displacing people? The New York Times. A sent a confrontation with a San Francisco security worker who ended up with brain damage is highlighting an inflection point for skateboarding as it grows from a culture that glorifies conflict and rebellion to a mainstream sport with professionals. The New York Times. A sent the archives of Ebony and Jet magazines were largely unseen treasures. They could soon be opened to the public after a group of 4 major foundations, including the J. Paul Getty Trust, won them at an auction. The New York Times. A sent Pacific Beach has more electric scooters than people. Now, to a repo men have made a business by taking them off the streets and to a tow yard. The posing an existential threat to the multibillion-dollar scooter industry. The Verge. A sent it was like stumbling upon a work of art, the man who spotted it said. But how did the fully intact double-double get into the street in Queens? Sorry for the long explanation of in and out. The New York Times. A sent did a man named Paul Gonzalez by inviting women on dates then ditching them with the bills create the perfect crime? Here's the weird story, told in pulpy detail. The Daily Beast. A sent get ready, Redding and anyone else, Megan Rapinoe has a book deal. The New York Times. This week's Friday recommendation from our California restaurant critic, Tejal Rao, is to find a little magic. And not of the Disney variety, this time. Read on. The Magic Castle in Hollywood has been calling to me for some time now. The shows, the D copyright COR, the S copyright ANSYS. Sure, the second floor restaurant, deep inside the mansion's maze of rooms, isn't exactly known for its food. It never has been. But in April, a new chef, Jason Fullylove, took over the kitchen, and he has since made some updates to the old menu, which I wrote about after a recent visit. The dining room was dark and flickering, like the first-class cabin of a ghost ship, and dinner came with a silly show. But I have to admit, I was utterly charmed by the castle's brand of old-school Los Angeles magic. California Today goes live at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Time weekdays. Tell us what you want to see, CA Today at NewYorkTimes.com. Were you forwarded this email? Sign up for California Today here. Jill Cowan grew up in Orange County, went to school at UC Berkeley, and has reported all over the state, including the Bay Area, Bakersfield, and Los Angeles, but she always wants to see more. Follow along here or on Twitter, at Jill Cowan. California Today is edited by Julie Bloom, who grew up in Los Angeles and graduated from UC Berkeley.